The chamber was massive, built to hold beings from dozens of different worlds. Crystal pillars rose to a ceiling so high it seemed to touch the stars themselves. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, casting no shadows on the polished floor. Around the circular room, seats rose in tiers, each one designed for a different species. Some were filled with water for aquatic beings. Others floated in magnetic fields. A few glowed with contained fire. At the center of it all sat the council. 12 races, 12 voices that decided the fate of the galaxy. They had ruled together for 3,000 years, maintaining peace, settling disputes, and guiding younger species toward civilization. Today, they were discussing furniture. Ambassador stood at his podium, his 4 arms gesturing dramatically. He was tall, covered in blue scales that caught the light like polished metal. His species had been part of the council for 800 years, and he carried himself with the confidence of someone who belonged. "Honored members," he said, his voice resonating through the chamber. "We gather today to address a matter long overdue. For 50 years, an empty chair has occupied space in this sacred hall. 50 years of silence, 50 years of absence. I propose we remove it." Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. Some nodded in agreement. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Chancellor Myra leaned forward from her position at the council table. The leader was ancient by most standards, her silver skin marked with the patterns of centuries. She had seen species rise and fall, had witnessed wars and peace treaties beyond counting. "The chair represents humanity," she said quietly. "We offered them a place among us. Should we not honor that offer even if they chose not to accept?" His laugh was sharp and cold. "Honor an empty promise to an empty people? The humans made their choice 50 years ago. They refused our generous offer and retreated to their single planet. They have shown no interest in galactic affairs, no desire to join civilization. They are primitives, content to remain in their corner of space." "They are not primitives," spoke Ambassador, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form. "Their technology was crude when we found them, yes, but they showed potential." "Potential that went unrealized," countered. "They had one chance to join the greater galaxy. They chose isolation instead. That chair has remained empty as a courtesy, nothing more. The courtesy has expired." High above the debate, hidden in the shadows of the ceiling's architectural maze, Martinez watched through the lens of a camera no larger than a grain of sand. He had been stationed here for 5 years, maintaining the observation post that humanity had secretly established decades ago. The post was illegal, of course. The Council forbade unauthorized surveillance, but Earth had learned long ago that rules only applied to those who lacked the power to break them. Was 32 years old, trained in intelligence gathering and fluent in 15 galactic languages. He had spent his adult life watching the Council, learning their patterns, understanding their politics. And now, after years of routine observation, something significant was finally happening. He adjusted the audio feed, making sure every word was being recorded and transmitted back to Earth. The signal would take weeks to arrive, bounce through relay stations hidden in asteroid fields and dead moons, but it would get there. On the council floor, the debate continued. "The humans were frightened," said Councillor Thane, a massive being whose species resembled walking mountains. "First contact is traumatic for any species. Perhaps they simply needed more time." 50 years is more than enough time, insisted. "Other species have joined us in less. It took only 20 years to establish diplomatic relations after contact. It took 15. The humans have had half a century and have sent not a single message, not one diplomat, not even a simple greeting." What did not mention, what most of the council chose to forget, was how that first contact had gone. Knew the story well, every human did. The council's ships had arrived in Earth's solar system without warning, massive vessels that appeared in orbit around the planet. They had broadcast a simple message. Humanity was being invited to join galactic civilization. Representatives would be taken to meet the council. But it had not been an invitation, it had been a demand. The ships had landed in major cities without permission. Council soldiers had walked through streets, scanning everything, taking samples, cataloging humanity as if they were studying insects. When human leaders had asked for time to discuss, they had been told time was not theirs to request. The council had expected gratitude. They had expected humanity to be honored by their attention. Instead, they had encountered resistance. Not violence, but something the Council found equally puzzling: refusal. Humanity had listened to the Council's offer. They had toured the galactic capital, seen the wonders of a civilization spanning thousands of worlds. They had been shown the benefits of membership, the technologies that would be shared, the protections that would be granted. And then humanity's representatives had spoken 3 words that no species had ever said to the Council before. No, thank you. The Council had been baffled. How could anyone refuse such an offer? They had tried to explain again, thinking perhaps the humans had not understood. But the answer remained the same. Earth did not wish to join, not under those terms. Not when membership meant accepting that humanity was lesser, that they were primitives who needed guidance, children who required supervision. So humanity had gone home. They had thanked the Council for their time and returned to their single planet. And the chair that had been prepared for them, the symbol of their place in galactic society, had remained empty. His voice brought attention back to the present. I call for a vote, they declared. All those in favor of removing the empty chair and closing the offer to humanity permanently, signify your agreement. One by one, lights appeared above the Council table. Blue for yes, red for no. The voting was quick, almost casual. This was a minor matter after all, just furniture, just symbolism. 7 blue lights appeared. Only 3 red ones joined Chancellor Myra's objection. The decision was made. The chair will be removed, announced with satisfaction. Earth's opportunity has passed. Let the humans remain in their isolation. The galaxy will continue without them. The Council moved on to other business, discussing trade agreements and border disputes. Within minutes, the matter of humanity was forgotten. But Martinez did not forget. His fingers flew across his console, encrypting the recording and adding his own urgent message. Message to Earth Command, he typed quickly. Council has voted to remove our chair. They consider the matter closed. Recommend immediate response protocol. He sent the transmission and sat back in the darkness, watching the Council continue their meeting far below. They had no idea what was coming. None of them did. For 50 years, humanity had been silent. For 50 years, that empty chair had sat in the Council chambers as a reminder of Earth's absence. The Council thought that silence meant weakness. They thought it meant humanity had nothing to say. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Smiled grimly in the darkness. The chair might be empty, but Earth had never been absent. They had been watching, learning, preparing. And now the Council had just made their biggest mistake. They had forgotten about humanity entirely. That oversight would cost them everything. The message reached Earth 3 weeks later. Admiral Cole stood in the command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching the decoded transmission play across the main screen. Around her, dozens of officers monitored stations that tracked every corner of human space. This facility had been built in secret, funded by programs that officially did not exist, staffed by people whose names appeared on no public records. Play it again, she said quietly. The recording started over. His voice filled the room, confident and dismissive as he called for the vote. The blue lights appeared one by one, each representing a species that believed humanity was irrelevant. Was 56 years old, a career military officer who had joined the service right after first contact. She remembered that day clearly. She had been a young lieutenant then, watching alien ships descend from the sky, feeling wonder turn to unease as those ships landed without permission, and their occupants walked Earth streets as if they owned them. She had been in the room when humanity's representatives returned from the Council. She had seen their faces, heard their report. The Council had treated them like children, amusing perhaps, but ultimately insignificant, primitives who should be grateful for the attention of their betters. That day had changed everything. "Get me the President," said to her communications officer. "Yes, Admiral." The holographic display flickered to life, and President Hammond appeared. He was sitting in the Oval Office, but knew that location was merely for show. The real command structure of Earth's government existed in facilities like this one, hidden from the casual observer. "I saw the transmission," said without preamble. He was 63, gray-haired and tired in a way that came from carrying secrets too heavy to share. "They really did it." "They did," confirmed. "The chair is being removed as we speak, made sure of it." Was silent for a moment, his fingers drumming on his desk. 50 years of work, all leading to this moment. Should I contact Dr. Grant? Asked. Already done. She is on her way to the facility now. I assume you will want to brief her in person. I would. Then I will leave you to it. I want to be clear about one thing. We always knew this day might come, but I want to be absolutely certain we are ready. Can we do this? Looked around the command center. Every screen showed a different aspect of humanity's preparations. Defense platforms, fleet positions, technology developments. 50 years of progress, all hidden from the galaxy's eyes. We can, Mr. President. The question is whether we should. If not now, then when? They just told us we are not worthy of their attention, that we do not matter. His jaw tightened. I think it is time we showed them exactly how much we matter. The connection ended, turned to her staff. Begin Phase 1 protocols. I want all defense platforms at full operational status within 12 hours. Contact Fleet Command and have them move to Rally Point Delta. And someone find Martinez a ride home. He has been up there long enough. Orders flowed outward from the command center, traveling through secure channels to facilities across Earth and beyond. To the casual observer, nothing changed. But beneath the surface, humanity's war machine began to wake. Dr. Sophie Grant arrived 4 hours later. She was younger than only 42, but her eyes held the same weight of secrets. Sophie had been recruited fresh out of graduate school, her dissertation on quantum field theory catching the attention of people who understood its implications. For 2 decades, she had led humanity's most classified research projects. Show me what we have, Sophie said as she entered the command center. Led her to a secure briefing room. The walls here were lined with screens, each displaying technical schematics and operational data. The Council thinks we have been sitting quietly on Earth for 50 years, began. They think we are still using primitive technology, barely capable of reaching our own moon. Let me guess, Sophie said with a slight smile. They are wrong. Spectacularly wrong, activated the first display. The moon, what do you see? Sophie studied the image. It showed Earth's moon as it appeared to outside observers. Gray, cratered, dead. Standard lunar surface, Sophie said. Now this switched views. The moon transformed. The gray surface was a shell, a projection. Beneath it, the entire lunar interior had been hollowed out and converted into a massive military installation. Weapons platforms dotted the surface, disguised as craters and rock formations. Power generators ran deep into the moon's core. Entire fleets of ships sat in underground hangars, ready to launch at a moment's notice. We did this in the first 10 years, explained. While the Council forgot about us, we fortified our home system. Mars, Sophie asked. Similar, though we took a different approach there. Another display activated. Mars appears to be undergoing slow terraforming. The Council's long-range scans would show atmospheric processors and water extraction facilities, all very primitive and slow. But that is not what they actually are. No, the terraforming equipment is real, but it is also a disguise. Beneath it, Mars houses our primary research and development facilities. Every technology we have created in the last 50 years was developed there. Sophie whistled softly. How many people know about this? On Earth, maybe 5,000, counting everyone across all the projects. Off Earth, another 10,000. We have been very careful. And the Council has no idea. They stopped paying attention to us after the first decade. Why would they watch a species that rejected them? As far as they are concerned, we are isolated primitives with nothing to offer. His expression hardened. They are about to learn differently. She activated another display. This one showed a star map of human space, with hundreds of markers indicating positions beyond Earth and Mars. What am I looking at? Sophie asked. 50 years of expansion. We did not stay on Earth, Sophie. We colonized. Quietly, carefully, using ships the Council's sensors could not detect. We now have permanent settlements on 47 worlds within 20 light-years of Earth. Each one is home to research facilities, manufacturing centers, or military installations. Sophie stared at the map. This is impossible. The Council monitors all jump points. They would have detected us. They monitor the jump points they know about. We found others, smaller, harder to detect, but functional. It took us 30 years to map them, but we did, smiled grimly. We also developed our own jump technology, different from the Council's, harder to track. While they were looking for their signatures, our ships were moving freely. How many ships do we have? Active fleet, 230 combat vessels, another 500 support ships, all equipped with technology the Council has never seen. Sophie sat down slowly. We built an empire in secret. Not an empire, a defense network. Everything we did was to ensure that if the Council ever decided we were worth their attention again, we would be ready. Pulled up another display. Which brings us to your department. What do we have that they do not? Sophie's expression became more animated. This was her domain, the place where her years of work showed their value. Where do I start? Quantum disruption fields that can disable their shields. Adaptive armor that learns from incoming fire and adjusts. Weapons systems that can target across dimensional barriers. And my personal favorite, stealth technology that makes our ships effectively invisible to their sensors. Can they counter it? Eventually, maybe, but it would take them years to adapt, and by then we will have moved on to something else. That is our advantage. They are comfortable with their technology. It has worked for thousands of years, so why change it? We had to build everything from scratch, which meant we could innovate without being locked into their thinking. Nodded slowly, so if it came to a fight, we would win. Not easily, not without cost, but we would win. The two women sat in silence for a moment, contemplating what they had just acknowledged. For 50 years, humanity had prepared for a war they hoped would never come. They had built weapons, trained soldiers, and created a military infrastructure that rivaled anything in the galaxy. All while the Council believed they were harmless. There is one more thing you should know, said. This report indicated that is already planning expansion into our territory. They want the resources in our systems. With the chair removed, they believe they have permission to take what they want. So they will come to us. They will, and when they do, we will have a choice. We can hide, continue our secrecy, let them think we are weak, or we can show them the truth. Sophie stood up, her decision clear in her eyes. We have hidden long enough. They removed our chair because they think we do not deserve one. I say we show them exactly what they just gave up. Smiled, it was not a kind smile. I was hoping you would say that. Let us begin. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and watched the primitive star system appear on his, Sol, the home of humanity, a single yellow star with a handful of unremarkable planets orbiting it. This would be easy. All ships report status, he commanded. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of his fleet. 20 warships, each one capable of reducing a planet to ash. The Empire had sent them to claim the resources of human space and intended to complete his mission quickly. All vessels at full combat readiness, Commander, his tactical officer reported. No defensive systems detected in the outer system. The way to there is clear. Nodded, his scaled face showing satisfaction. The briefing had been correct. Humanity had no significant military capability. They were primitives who had refused the Council's generous offer 50 years ago and had apparently done nothing to improve their situation since. Take us in. Standard occupation pattern. I want heavy cruisers positioned at each of their major planets. When we reach Earth, broadcast the standard surrender demand. The fleet moved forward, engines pushing them deeper into the Sol system. They passed the outer gas giants without incident. No warning signals, no defensive response, nothing but silence. This is almost disappointing, muttered. I expected at least some resistance. His second officer, a younger named, shifted uncomfortably. Commander, does it concern you that our long-range scans are showing unusual energy signatures around their moon and the fourth planet? Unusual how? High electromagnetic output, concentrated in specific locations. It could indicate defensive installations. Laughed, or it could indicate industrial facilities. Primitive factories producing primitive goods. Do not see threats where none exist, and these humans are no danger to us. But as they approached Mars, even had to admit something seemed off. The red planet should have been barren, dead. Instead, his sensors showed massive structures on the surface and considerable activity beneath it. Terraform operations, his science officer reported. Atmospheric processors, water extraction facilities, all very basic. How long until we reach Earth? Asked. 4 hours at current speed, Commander. Good, prepare the surrender demand. I want it broadcast in all their major languages. What did not know was that every move his fleet made was being tracked. Deep beneath Mars' surface, in a command center that officially did not exist, Captain watched the ships approach. "They are moving exactly as predicted," said to his tactical team. "Arrogant formation, no scouts, assuming we have no capability to respond." "Should we activate the defense grid?" his weapons officer asked. "Not yet. Let them get closer. Admiral Cole wants to make sure they understand the message we are about to send." Was 45 years old and had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. He commanded Sentinel-1, the primary defense platform built into Mars' northern hemisphere. Around him, his crew of 300 monitored systems that could level cities from orbit. "Sir, they are broadcasting on all frequencies," his communications officer reported. "It is the surrender demand." "Let me hear it." A mechanical voice filled the command center, speaking in English but with the flat tone of a translator program. "Attention, human civilization. This is Commander of the Imperial Fleet. By order of the Galactic Council, this system and all its resources are hereby claimed by the Empire. You are ordered to stand down all military forces and prepare for occupation. Resistance will be met with total annihilation. You have 1 hour to comply." Silence followed the message. "They did not even ask," someone muttered. "They just demanded." Smiled coldly. "Get me a direct channel to that flagship. I want to respond personally." "Channel open, Captain." "Commander, this is Captain of the Earth Defense Force. Your demand is, you have entered human space without permission. You have threatened our civilization with annihilation. You have exactly 10 minutes to turn your fleet around and leave this system. If you do not, we will consider your presence an act of war." The response came quickly and sounded amused. "Earth Defense Force, how impressive. Tell me, Captain, how many ships do you have? 2, 3. Our scans show no significant military presence in this system. You are bluffing." "I am giving you a chance to leave, Commander. I suggest you take it." "Or what, you will throw rocks at us? Broadcast angry messages? Face reality, human, your species is outmatched. Stand down now and the occupation will be peaceful. Resist and your cities will burn." Looked at his weapons officer and nodded. "Light them up." Across Mars, weapons platforms emerged from their concealment. What had appeared to be industrial facilities transformed as camouflage fields dropped. Massive rose from underground bunkers. Missile batteries locked onto targets. Energy weapons charged, their signature appearing on every sensor in the system. On Earth's moon, the transformation was even more dramatic. The entire lunar surface seemed to ripple as holographic projections shut down. Beneath them, a fortress of unimaginable scale revealed itself. Weapons platforms dotted every crater. Ship hangars opened, showing rows of sleek combat vessels. Defensive shields activated, creating a protective dome over Earth itself. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, every alarm sounded at once. "Commander, we have multiple hostile locks," the tactical officer shouted. "Hundreds of weapons platforms, energy signatures off the scale. They were hidden. All of it was hidden." Stared at his screens in disbelief. "That is impossible. Our intelligence said they had nothing. They were supposed to be primitives." "Sir, incoming transmission from the human captain." "Put it through." His face appeared on the... He was not smiling anymore. "You had your chance, Commander. You chose to threaten us instead. Now you will learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. You would not dare attack Council ships. It would be suicide." "Would it? Your fleet is surrounded and completely vulnerable. Every ship you have is currently being targeted by no less than 50 weapons systems. Your shields would not stop even half of them. But here is the interesting part, Commander. We are not going to destroy you." Frowned. "You are not?" "No, because destroying you would be too easy. Instead, we are going to disable every ship in your fleet. We are going to leave you floating in space, helpless, so you can think about the mistake you made. And then we are going to send you home with a message for the Council." "You cannot." "Watch us, all stations, fire at will. Disable only, no lethal force." The Sol system lit up with weapons fire. From Mars, rounds flew at incredible speeds, each one targeting engine systems with surgical precision. From the moon, focused energy beams lanced out, drilling through shields designed to stop conventional weapons. From hidden platforms throughout the system, missiles streaked toward their targets, carrying warheads that released electromagnetic pulses instead of explosives. The fleet tried to respond. They fired back, their powerful weapons targeting the sources of the attack. But their shots hit nothing. The human platforms used shielding technology that had never encountered energy fields that bent and absorbed incoming fire harmlessly. Within 15 minutes, it was over. Every ship floated dead in space, their engines disabled, their weapons offline, their shields collapsed. Not a single one had been destroyed. Not a single crew member had been killed, but they were utterly helpless. On the Eternal Dominion, sat in darkness as emergency power struggled to restore basic life support. Around him, his crew worked desperately to understand what had just happened. "Status report," he croaked. "Main power offline, engines destroyed, weapons non-functional, communications still operational but barely. We are dead in space, Commander." "Casualties?" "None. They targeted our systems, not our crew." "Why would they do that?" The answer came as face appeared on their emergency screen. "Because we are not monsters, Commander. We could have killed all of you. We chose not to. Do you understand what that means?" "Said nothing." "It means we are stronger than you. It means we have been stronger for a very long time. And it means we chose mercy when we could have chosen destruction. Remember that when you report back to your empire. Remember that when the Council asks how 20 warships were defeated without firing a single effective shot." "The Council will send more ships," said weakly. "They will send a fleet that will overwhelm you." "Let them try. We have spent 50 years preparing for this. We have technology you cannot counter and defenses you cannot breach. But more importantly, we have something you lack. We have the patience to avoid unnecessary death. Every species in this galaxy believes they are superior to us. You just learned the truth." "What truth?" Leaned forward, his expression hard. "That humanity does not need the Council's permission to exist. We do not need their approval to defend ourselves, and we certainly do not need a chair in their chambers to prove our worth. You removed our empty chair, Commander. You made a statement. Consider this our response." The transmission ended. Sat in the darkness of his disabled flagship, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet's pride. Around him, in every direction, human vessels patrolled silently. They did not attack. They did not taunt. They simply watched. Waiting. And realized with growing horror that the galaxy had just changed forever. The emergency council session was called within hours of receiving's report. Chancellor Myra sat at the council table, watching the holographic recording play for the third time. The fleet, proud and powerful, reduced to floating debris in less than 20 minutes. Not destroyed, disabled. Every ship rendered helpless while human weapons platforms remained untouched. Around her, the other council members watched in stunned silence. "This cannot be accurate," Ambassador finally said. His voice lacked its usual confidence. 20 warships defeated without casualties? It is impossible." "The sensor logs are genuine," replied Counselor, the energy being who served as the Council's technology expert. "I have analyzed them thoroughly. The humans possess defensive capabilities far beyond what we believed possible. Their weapons technology is equally advanced." "How?" demanded Thane, the massive stone-like being. 50 years ago, they were barely capable of reaching their own moon. Now they can defeat a battle group." Chancellor Myra spoke quietly. "Because we stopped watching them. We assumed their isolation meant stagnation. We were wrong." The recording ended, replaced by the image of Captain delivering his final message too. His words echoed through the chamber. "We do not need the Council's permission to exist." Slammed his 4 fists on the podium. "This is unacceptable. The humans have attacked Council forces. They have violated every treaty regarding military development. They must be brought to heel immediately." "They did not attack," Myra corrected. "They defended, entered their space without permission and demanded their surrender. Under Council law, they had every right to respond." "They should not have the capability to respond," shot back. "That is the issue. A species that refused Council membership has somehow developed weapons that surpass our own. This sets a dangerous precedent." "Or it reveals a failure in our own thinking," said Ambassador Al, a slender being whose species specialized in diplomacy. "We offered humanity membership, but we did so from a position of superiority. We treated them as children who should be grateful for our attention. Perhaps they refused because they saw no benefit in accepting. Nonsense, snapped. Council membership is the greatest honor any species can receive. Is it, or is it simply what we tell ourselves to justify our control over the galaxy? The chamber erupted in argument. Some members sided with, calling for immediate military action against humanity. Others urged caution, pointing out that Earth had shown restraint when they could have shown destruction. Chancellor Myra let them argue for several minutes before calling for order. Enough, we must decide on a course of action. The question is simple. Do we treat this as an act of war, or do we attempt diplomacy? War, said immediately. We cannot allow this challenge to go unanswered. If other species see that humanity can defy the Council without consequence, our authority will crumble. And if we attack and lose? Myra asked. Commanded 20 ships, experienced vessels with proven combat records. All were defeated without landing a single effective blow. How many ships would we need to send to ensure victory? 50? 100? And how many lives would be lost in the attempt? We could send 500 ships, insisted. A full Council armada, even human technology could not stand against that. Could it not? We do not know the extent of their capabilities. We saw only their defensive systems. What weapons do they possess that they chose not to use? What other surprises wait in their space? Thane's deep voice rumbled through the chamber. I served in the border wars 2 centuries ago. I know what it means to underestimate an opponent. If we attack humanity now, from a position of anger and wounded pride, we will make mistakes. Better to understand what we face before committing to conflict. So you suggest we do nothing? Asked incredulously. I suggest we do what we should have done 50 years ago. Talk to them. Not as superiors to inferiors, but as equals seeking to understand one another. They rejected that conversation 50 years ago. No, Myra said firmly. They rejected being treated as children. There is a difference. The argument continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. 7 council members voted to assemble a military fleet and force humanity to submit. 5 voted for attempting diplomatic contact first. The military option won. Fleet commander as received his orders the next day. He was a career officer from the military, experienced and respected across the galaxy. He had commanded forces in dozens of conflicts and had never lost a battle. But as he reviewed the intelligence reports on humanity, he felt something unusual. Doubt. His orders were clear. Take a fleet of 500 ships to Earth. Demand their surrender. If they refused, use overwhelming force to disable their military capabilities and occupy there. It was a standard operation, one he had carried out before on other worlds. But those other worlds had not defeated a battle group in 15 minutes. What do you think? He asked his second-in-command, a brilliant tactician named In. She was reviewing the same reports, her expression troubled. I think we are about to make a terrible mistake. Explain. The battle logs from fleet show that human weapons fired with perfect accuracy. Every shot hit exactly where it was intended. They disabled engines, weapons systems, and shields without causing structural damage to the ships. That level of precision suggests either incredible skill or, more likely, computer targeting systems far more advanced than ours. Go on. Their defensive shields absorbed direct hits from plasma cannons without failing. Our intelligence says that should be impossible. Their weapons platforms remained invisible to sensors until they chose to reveal themselves. Again, impossible according to our current understanding of stealth technology. You are saying we are outmatched. I am saying we do not understand what we are facing. Went in expecting an easy victory and was humiliated. We are going in with 500 ships, expecting our numbers to ensure success. But what if numbers are not enough? As was silent for a long moment, what would you recommend? Honestly, I would recommend we talk to them, find out why they developed such capabilities. Ask what it would take for them to lower their defenses. Going in with weapons ready will only provoke the response we are trying to avoid. Those are not our orders. I know. As looked at the star map showing the route to Earth, 500 ships, crew members numbering in the hundreds of thousands, all committed to a mission that might be unnecessary. Prepare the fleet, he finally said, but have our best diplomats standing by. If there is a chance to resolve this without bloodshed, I will take it. On Earth, Admiral Cole watched the Council fleet assemble. 500 ships, she said to President Hammond. They are taking us seriously. Can we stop them? Asked. Yes, but not without casualties on both sides. They will be prepared for our tactics this time. They will have adapted their shields, modified their approach. It will be a real battle. How many losses on our side? Estimates range from 10 to 30 ships, maybe 1,000 crew members dead. On their side, potentially 10 times that number. Closed his eyes. So many deaths to prove a point. We can still offer them a chance to turn back, said. Send a message before they reach our space. Make it clear what will happen if they proceed. They will see it as a threat. It might make them more determined to attack. Perhaps, or it might make them think twice. In orbit around Earth's moon, Lieutenant sat in the cockpit of her fighter, waiting. She was 28 years old, one of the best pilots in the Defense Force. Her ship was small, fast, and equipped with weapons that could punch holes through heavy armor. Around her, 50 other fighters waited in the darkness of space. They were the first line of defense, the response team that would engage any enemy forces that entered the Sol system. All pilots, this is command, came the voice through her headset. The Council fleet will reach our border in 6 hours. Rules of engagement are as follows: disable if possible, destroy if necessary. They have been warned. If they cross into our space, they accept the consequences. Checked her systems for the 100th time. Everything was green, weapons loaded, shields charged, jump drive ready. She thought about the fleet that had come before. They had been arrogant, expecting no resistance. This fleet would be different. They would be ready to fight. The question was whether they were ready for what humanity had become. This is Lieutenant to all fighters. Remember your training, stay in formation, watch your sectors, and if it comes to shooting, make every shot count. Acknowledgements came back from her squadron. Said her wing leader, a veteran pilot named Greg Hunter, "You think they will really attack?" "I think they will try. Whether they succeed is another question. We could die today. We could, but if we do, we will die defending our home. There are worse ways to go." The fleet waited in silence, humanity's defenses primed and ready. Above them, Earth turned slowly in its orbit, blue and green and alive. Beautiful, worth defending. The Council was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Fleet Commander as watched the edge of human space approach on his tactical display. 500 ships moved in perfect formation behind him, the largest military force the Council had assembled in decades. It should have been overwhelming. Instead, he felt uneasy. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," his communications officer reported. "Play it." Admiral Cole's face appeared on his screen. She looked calm, professional, and completely unafraid. "Commander, as this is Admiral Cole of Earth Defense Command. You are approaching the boundary of human space with a hostile fleet. We are giving you one final opportunity to withdraw. Cross that boundary, and we will consider it an act of war." "Admiral Cole," as replied carefully, "I have my orders from the Council. They require your surrender and the dismantling of your military capabilities. I would prefer to accomplish this through negotiation rather than force." "Then let me save you some time, Commander. We will not surrender. We will not dismantle our defenses. We have built these capabilities to protect ourselves from exactly this situation. You are welcome to turn around and report that back to the Council. No one needs to die today." "The Council will not accept that answer." "Then the Council has a problem, because that is the only answer they will receive." As studied her face, she was not bluffing. He had seen enough combat to recognize the look of someone prepared to fight to the end. "Admiral, may I speak frankly?" "Please do." "I have reviewed the recordings of your engagement with the fleet. Your capabilities are impressive, but you faced 20 ships. I command 500. Do you truly believe you can prevail against those odds?" Smiled slightly. "Commander, we have been preparing for 50 years for the possibility that the entire Council might turn against us. What you see at the edge of our space is not our full strength. It is merely what we are allowing you to see. Yes, we can prevail. The question is how many of your people will die in the attempt. You are asking me to disobey direct orders from the Council. I am asking you to think about whether those orders are worth the lives they will cost. You are a military commander, not a politician. Your job is to protect your people and achieve your objectives with minimal casualties. I am offering you a way to do that." Az was silent for a long moment. His tactical officer was watching him, waiting for orders. 500 ships waited for his command. "If I withdraw," he finally said, "the Council will simply send another fleet, perhaps one led by someone less concerned with casualties. Then help us find another solution. We do not want war with the Council, we never have. We simply want to be treated with respect, as equals rather than as primitives to be managed. Is that truly so unreasonable?" Before Az could respond, his sensors officer shouted a warning. "Commander, contact. Multiple human vessels around our fleet, hundreds of them." The tactical display lit up with red markers. Human ships appeared from nowhere, surrounding the Council fleet completely. They had been there all along, invisible, waiting. "How many?" Az asked quietly. "Estimated 300 combat vessels, sir, plus defensive platforms we cannot fully count. We are surrounded." On the screen, Admiral Cole had not moved. "I told you, Commander, what you see is not our full strength. Those ships have had weapons locked on your fleet since you entered sensor range. One word from me and this battle begins. I am hoping you will give me a reason not to say that word." Az looked around his bridge. His crew was young, well-trained, loyal. Many of them would die if this turned into a fight. And for what? To force a species to accept Council authority they neither needed nor wanted. He made his decision. "Stand down all weapons," he ordered. "Defensive posture only." "Sir," his tactical officer asked in shock. "You heard me. Admiral Cole, I request permission to speak with you and my superiors on the Council simultaneously. It is time we had an honest conversation." 3 hours later, Martinez stood in the corridor outside the Council chambers. He had left his observation post for the first time in 5 years, traveling to the galactic capital on a human ship that had dropped its stealth only when it arrived at the station. He was wearing a formal Earth diplomatic uniform, dark blue with silver trim. In his hand, he carried a data chip containing 50 years of recordings, every Council session, every deal, every dismissive comment about humanity. The doors opened. Walked into the chamber, and for the first time in 50 years, a human stood on its floor. The Council members stared at him. Some looked shocked, others looked angry. Chancellor Myra looked relieved. "Members of the Galactic Council," said, his voice carrying clearly through the massive space. "My name is Martinez. I am here representing the people of Earth." "How dare you," began, but Myra cut him off. "Let him speak." Walked to the center of the floor, where the empty chair had once sat. Now there was only open space. 50 years ago, you offered humanity a chair in this chamber. We declined. Not because we did not value the honor, but because we understood what acceptance would mean. We would be junior members, primitives to be guided and controlled. You would have authority over our development, our choices, our future. "That is standard procedure for new species," protested. "Perhaps, but we are not like other species. When you came to Earth, you landed without permission. You walked our streets without asking. You studied us like specimens in a laboratory. And when we asked you to stop, to treat us as equals capable of making our own decisions, you were baffled. How could primitives reject your wisdom?" Activated a holographic projector, and images appeared around the chamber. Earth's moon transformed into a fortress. Mars, hiding advanced technology beneath a terraforming disguise. Dozens of human colonies spreading through nearby star systems. While you forgot about us, we were building, learning, advancing. We took your technology as a starting point and improved on it. We found flaws in your defenses and created better ones. We saw weaknesses in your weapons and designed systems to exploit them. Not because we wanted to conquer anyone, but because we knew that one day you might decide we were worth your attention again. "This is a violation of Council law," said. "Unauthorized military development, colonization without approval, espionage." "We are not members of the Council," replied calmly. "Your laws do not apply to us. We chose isolation and you granted it by removing our chair. You cannot have it both ways. We are either independent, free to develop as we choose, or we are subject to your authority. Which is it?" The question hung in the air. Fleet Commander Az appeared on the main, transmitting from his flagship still at the edge of human space. "Honored Council, I have spent the last 3 hours reviewing humanity's military capabilities with Admiral Cole. They were remarkably forthcoming with information. I can confirm that their technology is at least equal to our own, and in some areas superior. More importantly, they have demonstrated restraint and mercy that speaks well of their character. They could have destroyed Commander's fleet. They chose not to. They could have fired on my fleet when we entered their space. They did not. Because they knew we would destroy them eventually, insisted. No, as said firmly. Because they do not want war, they want respect. There is a difference. Chancellor Myra stood from her seat. Martinez, what does Earth want? What we have always wanted, replied. To be treated as equals, not primitives, not children, not threats to be contained. Equals, we do not want to join the Council if it means being lesser members, but we would be willing to consider membership if it meant genuine equality and respect. You cannot demand equality, said. It must be earned. We earned it when we defeated your fleet in 15 minutes, said bluntly. We earned it when we surrounded Commander as without his knowledge. We earned it 50 years ago when we chose pride over subjugation. The question is whether you are willing to acknowledge it. Myra looked around the chamber. I call for a vote. All those in favor of extending full membership to Earth with equal status and voting rights signify your agreement. The vote was not immediate. Council members argued among themselves. Some were still angry, unwilling to admit that humanity had proven itself. Others recognized that the galaxy had changed and continuing to deny it would only lead to unnecessary conflict. Finally, lights began to appear. Red and blue, no and yes. The vote was close, 8-4, but it was enough. Earth is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council, Myra announced, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Nodded slowly. Thank you, Chancellor, but there is one condition before we accept. What condition? An apology. Not to me, but to the representatives who came here 50 years ago and were treated like ignorant children. An acknowledgement that the Council was wrong to approach us from a position of superiority. Looked furious, but Myra spoke before he could object. On behalf of the Council, I apologize. We failed to see your potential. We failed to treat you with the respect you deserved. That failure is ours, not yours. Then Earth accepts membership in the Galactic Council. Within hours, a new chair was brought into the chamber. It was placed where the old one had been, but this time it would not remain empty. Martinez sat down, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. Around him, representatives from dozens of species watched, some with acceptance, some with lingering doubt, all with a new understanding. Humanity had been absent for 50 years. In that time, they had proven they did not need the Council to survive or thrive. They had built an empire in secret, developed technology that rivaled the best the galaxy had to offer, and created a military force that could stand against overwhelming odds. And they had done it all while maintaining their principles. They had shown mercy when they could have shown destruction. They had sought peace when they could have chosen war. The empty chair was gone. In its place sat a human who had earned his position not through the Council's permission, but through his people's determination to never be underestimated again. Admiral Cole stood in the Earth Command Center, watching the ceremony through the live feed. Around her, her staff was celebrating. 50 years of secrecy, of preparation, of sacrifice had led to this moment. We did it, Sophie Grant said, appearing beside her. They accepted us. They did, agreed, though I suspect some of them will regret it. Let them, we proved we deserved to be there. Not because we conquered anyone, but because we refused to accept being treated as lesser. That is what makes us human. Martinez was being introduced to the other council members. Some greeted him warmly, others maintained distance, but all of them showed respect. The galaxy had changed, not through violence, but through a simple demonstration of capability combined with restraint. Humanity had shown they were strong enough to defend themselves and wise enough to choose peace over destruction. The empty chair was no more. In its place sat a species that had spent 50 years proving they belonged among the stars. And the galaxy would never forget what happened when they were dismissed as insignificant. They had shattered every assumption, and in doing so they had earned their place not as subjects but as equals.